Welcome to our weird world, where each week we gather around the bonfire to uncover the world's most fascinating legends and mysteries. Tonight, we're bringing the story of the Slavic frost demons. So sit back, relax, and let the flames of our virtual campfire keep you warm on this winter's eve. In the quiet, frostbitten village of Kamenka, nestled at the foot of the Vysoká Hora, winters were long, cruel, and filled with whispers of the forest demons. The villagers spoke of these entities not with dread, but with a cautious respect, for they were as much a part of the mountain as the snow itself. Legend had it that these frost demons were the children of Morozko, the Slavic spirit of winter. Unlike their father, who was stern but fair, they were wild, vengeful, and delighted in turning human warmth into icy despair. They were said to dwell in the glacial caves of the Vysoká Hora, descending into the valleys on moonless nights to claim victims who dared to defy winter's rules. Centuries ago, a pact was struck between the villagers and the frost demons. An elder named Baba Radmila had braved the mountains to confront them after her daughter was taken on a frigid January night. Baba Radmila, armed only with her wit and a bag of hot coals, navigated the treacherous slopes, her breath forming crystalline clouds in the bitter air. She found the frost demons in a cavern of jagged ice, their forms shifting between humanoid figures and wraith-like specters of the cold. Their leader, Zimnik, was a being of terrifying beauty, with hair like icicles and eyes that burned blue with eternal frost. Radmila offered them a deal. The villagers would leave offerings of warmth, woolen scarves, steaming pots of borscht, and glowing lanterns on the edge of the forest every solstice, and in return, the demons would spare their lives. Zimnik, intrigued by the audacity of the human, agreed, but his warning echoed through the cavern. Break this pact, and your village will freeze for 100 years. For generations, the villagers honored the pact. On the winter solstice, they gathered at the forest's edge, leaving their offerings with solemn prayers. But as the years turned to decades and the decades turned to centuries, the memory of the pact began to fade. One fateful December, a wealthy landowner named Gregor dismissed the tradition as superstition. He refused to contribute to the offering, declaring, "I'll not waste good food and fine wool on fairy tales." That night, the wind howled with an unnatural ferocity, and by morning, Gregor's estate was encased in a shell of ice. Inside, every living being had frozen solid, their faces twisted in terror. The villagers, now terrified, renewed their offerings with fervor, but the demons were angered. The winter days grew colder, the nights darker, and the frost began seeping into their homes. In the present day, the story of the frost demons was no longer a mere legend, but an integral part of Kamenka's winter culture. Children grew up hearing the tales, warned never to stay out past dusk in the heart of winter. Yet, as always, there were those who didn't believe. Anya, a skeptical university student visiting her grandparents in Kamenka, laughed at the stories. She scoffed at the old traditions, mocking her grandmother's insistence on hanging a red scarf in the window to ward off the frost demons. "It's just an old wives' tale," she said. One icy evening, Anya ventured into the woods alone, armed with her phone and a thirst for adventure. The villagers begged her not to go, but she dismissed their warnings. "I'll prove there's nothing to fear," she said with a confident grin. As she wandered deeper into the forest, the temperature seemed to plummet. Her breath came out in thick puffs, and her phone's flashlight barely cut through the oppressive darkness. Snow began to fall, soft at first, then in a blinding flurry. She turned back, but the path she'd taken had vanished beneath the fresh blanket of snow. The wind whispered around her, carrying voices that sounded like laughter. Anya froze, her heart pounding as a figure emerged from the storm. It was Zimnik, his icy eyes glowing in the darkness. "Lost, are we?" he asked, his voice smooth and cold. Anya, her skepticism replaced by fear, stammered, I was just leaving." Zimnik chuckled, a sound like cracking ice. "You mocked us, little one. Now you'll play our game." With a snap of his fingers, the blizzard ceased. The forest was deathly silent, the air so cold it burned Anya's lungs. Around her, the frost demons materialized, their forms translucent and shifting, eyes glittering with malice. "You must find your way home," Zimnik said. "But beware, every wrong step will cost you warmth." Anya stumbled through the forest, with each misstep draining her strength. Frost crept up her limbs, numbing her fingers and toes. The demons watched, their laughter echoing through the trees. She remembered her grandmother's tales, fragments of advice about the frost demons. Always carry your warmth in your heart. Desperate, Anna began to sing a lullaby her grandmother had taught her. The melody, a simple tune about love and home, seemed to push back against the cold. The frost demons hesitated, their forms flickering. Zimnik appeared again, his expression unreadable. "Clever girl," he said, "but the game isn't over yet." As dawn approached, Anya reached the forest's edge, but Zimnik stood in her path, a barrier of ice rising behind him. "One final requirement," he said. "I still need an offering of something warm, and I'll let you go." Anya, trembling in near collapse, thought of her grandmother's scarf, still wrapped around her neck and tucked into her cloak. She pulled it out, the red wool a stark contrast against the icy landscape. With shaking hands, she draped it over Zimnik's shoulders. The frost demon's expression softened, and his ice barrier melted. "You've shown you now understand the warmth of life, girl. Go, but always remember our pact." Anya stumbled back into the village as the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds. The villagers gathered around her, their faces a mix of relief and fear. She told them everything, her voice hoarse from the cold. From that day on, the people of Kamenka renewed their offerings with reverence, and Anya, now a firm believer, became the village's storyteller, ensuring that no one would forget the frost demons of the Vysoká Hora. But the demons still watched from their icy lair, waiting for the day that someone would dare to break the pact again. As we leave you here, remember, the legends of our weird world are boundless. If you've enjoyed the stories, please share, like, and subscribe to our channel for more content. Your support enables us to keep these stories alive. Until next time, stay curious and always remember to respect the warmth of the life within you.